Greetings, people. It's Mr. Pull the Trigger yet again on another episode of the Enlightenment series. Conversations with the accountant, the inside man, the insider, whistleblowing, telling us what happens behind the scenes, things that Nigerian youth should beam light on. Not just the Nigerian youth, but the government will not, for one or two reasons that I'll enlist at the end of the video. But I want you to listen to the part 2 of the conversation. And some people were saying that, listen, Prof, can't you just put this together in one episode so that we can hear the full story, so that we can hear the entire exposure? No, listen, people, calm down, chill, relax, stay glued, stay watching. This information is critical. This information is very important. It has to be broken down into manageable pieces so that you'll be able to consume it at a rate that will make you understand where this is coming from and where this is going. So need you not to rush to anywhere. We still have a very long way to go, and we need to critically disseminate this information to everyone so that everyone has an understanding. This is not me giving out rumors. This is not me, talking about scandals. These matters that we are discussing right now, they are very pertinent to the economy, not just of Nigeria, but to many other economies in African countries, because these things are happening. Money is being laundered. And this money that is being laundered, it's money that should benefit the citizens, the people, the youth. It's money that should be creating jobs, but it's being channeled to different other things by corrupt people in governments and other corrupt people in different businesses. If these things are not addressed, we're putting the lives of the upcoming boys, upcoming girls, of our youth at risk. We need to address them so that those that are still defending these churches, those that are still in support of these institutions called churches, they can now start seeing the light and start understanding what's happening behind the scenes. You see churches everywhere. At one corner, and you think they are just there to take your small tithes, your small seeds, and you see them living luxuriously, buying jets, living expensive lifestyles, and you think it's the seeds and the tithes that you're paying. No, that's not enough for the jets that they're buying, for the mansions that they're buying, for the mega churches that they're building. Your tithes alone are not enough. So the big question is, where is all that money coming from? Where is that money coming from? The churches are playing the role of a middleman in our economies, middlemen of corruption, middlemen of money laundering, because churches are the only institutions or organizations which are not being censored, which are not being monitored. And for that, they are the greatest loophole in each and every African economy, because they are now being used as a window of opportunity by those corrupt people, those people that are in power, to take money out of the country. And whenever money is taken out of the system and is not accounted for, and there's no exchange of value, then there are people that are going to suffer in the process. Those people are you. Those people are the youths. Inflation, the value of our currencies will start diminishing. And you start asking questions. Why are we not progressing? We have all the raw materials in this country. We have all the minerals in this country. We have everything that all the other countries in the Western world, European countries, depend on. Do you think there's no trade that is being conducted? There is trade. Do you think there's no money that is coming in our nations, in our countries? There's a lot of money, plenty of money. But the thing is, we have people in power that are channeling those funds that are supposed to be used for developmental projects. And they're taking them back to where those monies are coming from, through channels like the church, because the church is not audited, and the church will never be audited. The church is tax exempted. Do you know where the foundation of churches not paying tax is coming from? It's coming from the early stages when the churches were put in place, and the churches that were said not to be tax exempted. These are churches that were brought about by the missionaries. Do you know why they were tax exempted? It's because these institutions called the church back in the days were not collecting offerings. These institutions called churches back in the days were offering and rendering all these things of the Spirit for free. They were building schools for free. They were building hospitals for free. They were helping people that come to church for free. They were putting these institutions called churches in communities, in poor communities, so that they can support the poor of the poorest in those communities. That's why the government said we shouldn't charge tax on these institutions called churches. But as time progressed, these churches turned into business institutions. They're no longer doing what the churches of the old days were doing. And the churches of nowadays, even though they're conducting business, they're still not being taxed. And that's the question why we should be asking our governments. And we need to revisit the constitutions, the constitution of each and every African country, and beam light on these activities that are being conducted by these churches. For real, they must pay tax because they're collecting money each and every day. They are selling anointing oils. They are conducting business. They are selling stickers. They are selling t-shirts. These are not fundraising campaigns. They are not fundraising campaigns. This is business. Holy water. For what? They are conducting business. They are collecting tithes and seeds and offerings each and every day. And what are they doing with all that money that they are collecting? They are buying Lamborghinis, Rolls Royces, building schools which are charging so much money for anyone that want to attend to those schools, which classify these institutions as business institutions. But apart from these monies that they take from people, apart from this small money that they are taking from people, they actually have another source of funds that is enabling them to have this power that they have. Sometimes you blame your politicians, but these politicians are actually being held hostage by these churches. You know why I say so? Don't think the politicians don't know that these churches are being used as money laundering machines. They do know that. Every government in each and every nation, they know that. But they'll never dare address this issue. They'll never dare put pressure on these churches or on the IRS to start doing investigations on how this money, how this syndicate is being operated. And the reason why they'll never do that, the reason why they'll never bring the DGOs to question is because when your politicians look at these people, what they see are votes. Why do I say so? They command crowds. They command numbers. So if a ruling party right now would want to address this issue concerning money, concerning churches being investigated, concerning churches paying tax, these bishops, these DGOs, all they have to do is to come on Sunday, mount a pulpit, and start fighting the government, and start fighting the ruling party. How do they fight it? They'll incite their followers to be rebellious. And this will not look good to the ruling party. The ruling party is at a risk of losing votes. Because these DGOs and these pastors of your churches, they are voices of reason. They command an influence. Whatever they say, their followers listen. If Oyedepo today says, now let's start voting for so and so, all those thousands, those are votes that are being lost. If adeboye today comes, they control the biggest number of a following. They command the biggest number of following in all of these countries, especially in Nigeria. So the ruling party will never touch them just because of that fear. Because once they do, the opposition party again will use that as a loophole, and they'll come in support of the churches and start supporting the churches so that they can gain a political advantage, so that they can gain the support from these religious communities. And by that, it gives them a leverage to compete against the ruling party. So the ruling party and the government in power right now, they will forever remain silent because of the fear of losing a political advantage. Not only that fear, some of the big players in government, they're in collaboration with these churches. They are the ones that are diverting funds that are supposed to be used to develop our countries. And the only way they can divert these funds is by using non-governmental organizations which are not being taxed. We are not being monitored. Which are the non-governmental organizations that they can use, that they know that these organizations will never be touched? Churches. I hope you're putting one and two together. This conversation is very critical. I would want you to share this message. I would want you to share this conversation with the accountant, because it's going to deliver so many Nigerians, not just Nigerians, and other people in different nations in Africa, to start seeing the truth. We are being played. You are being played. You have been played for the longest time ever. This is time for you to wake up. This is a wake-up call. And I urge you to start thinking on your own now. Start seeing what you have not been seeing. Because whatever that is being done behind the scenes is affecting you and is putting the lives of your children, the future of your children, at risk. These men, these churches, and some of these politicians are robbing into the future of your children. What we are suffering today is lesser compared to what they will suffer. Because if this perpetuates into the long run, Africa will become a dustbin. If this is not monitored and if this is not controlled, we are losing out. As a continent, our nations will forever be behind because we don't have the platforms for development. How are we going to develop when the money that is supposed to be used for developmental projects, investments, is being taken out of the country through dubious channels like these churches? After you listen to this conversation, we are just brushing the surface at the moment. I'm going to bring you the full discussion in detail with evidence and proofs. The accountant sent me intel, sensitive information about especially churches in Nigeria, about their statements. People, if you see this information, the money that is being declared in Nigerian banks, and the amounts of money that is being moved from Nigeria to offshore accounts, you become angry. This time around, you'll not be angry at me, but you'll be angry at your DGOs because they are playing you. And you are too gullible and too spiritual to smell the coffee or to see what's happening. This message is for the intellect. It's for those that are critical. I know you will not be happy with this information. And I know they will not be happy with this information. But it is your right to fight for justice, for your justice, for the justice of the unborn generation. This is the only way that corruption can be dealt with. When the masses come together and then they put to question activities of this nature, then we can have a safer community and a progressive nation, a progressive continent. It's our responsibility to drive for this change. So listen to my conversation with the accountant, and I'll check you out on the next episode of the Enlightenment series. It's Mr. Pull the Trigger.
So, like I said, there's an unholy partnership between the elite and the so-called pastors, and this is it. I will speak from the point of Nigeria. I know this may resonate with some some of my brothers in other African countries. This may resonate with you, but this is how it works. What happened is a sitting governor would divert part of the state fund that is meant for his people. It will be diverted. How is the diversion done? There's something they call grafting. When a contract, which is to cost about 2 million naira, such kind of contract, they tell the contractor, the contractor should quote 200 million naira. So the contractor will quote 200 million, and the real value of that contract is actually 2 million. It therefore means that 188 million is to be stolen. So there lies the problem now. How do we get this money out? So what they do is to tell the contractor to provide the money in cash. So gradually, it might take 6 months. Gradually, the contractor will be paid the money, and the contractor will draw the money from the account of the bank and deliver the money in cash to the agents of the governor. The governor will book an appointment to meet with the man of God for prayers. And when they come to see them, it is standard. they take about 15, they charge between 15 to 20% to launder money for them. So, some people don't understand why an African church is setting up a branch in Europe. An African church is setting up a church in America. Is setting up a branch in America. A lot of people don't know why. Even though it's only maybe mostly Nigerians and Africans that are attending these churches abroad, they still go ahead and open more branches in other states in America, in other states in Europe. The reason is because they need outlets to get money laundered into different parts of the world. So this is how the game works. Now, the money is so heavy, and one thing that you need to know is that most of the churches that engage in these corrupt practices, they have one thing in common. Most of them have microfinance banks. Most of the churches that are involved in money laundering in Nigeria, what will give you a clue is that they have a microfinance bank. In Nigeria, different organizations and individuals are allowed to own a bank. Either you own a commercial bank. Once you can have the required deposits, you can set up and get registered as a bank. Most of those churches have microfinance banks. And the set man of God takes about 15-20% as his commission from the money that is coming in. So it works like this. Sir, we have this challenge and we are willing to donate to the Lord. In some instances when they have backlog of money that they need to launder, that they are currently laundering, one way is this: they get this money and they ask the pastor of the branch in, for example, maybe Chicago. They ask the pastor, for example, maybe in Maryland, in the US, to make an order. To make an order. So that order will be placed, and they will get an invoice from a US company or somewhere. Then that order would accompany the commercial bank. Instructions will be given to the bank. So now the question is, from once they have the cash with them, so what they do is that this cash is now paid. They create multiple pseudo accounts. They create multiple pseudo accounts. They can create in a day, they can create up to 2,000 accounts. These churches have got information on their church members. So they can decide to open 2,000, 3,000, even 5,000 accounts, because they've got the names of most of their church members and their details. So they create multiple accounts in the name of these members, but without the knowledge of the members. Most of these church members do have legitimate accounts, but other accounts equally exist that they don't know about. So these are some of the accounts that they create, and the CFO of the bank, the chief financial officer of the bank, would now begin, over a period of time, will begin to deposit money into all of these multiple accounts. When that process is completed, they give it like a week or two. Then, because they've got the master and administration clearance, they can now begin to post this money from all these multiple thousands of accounts. They will now target a particular church account where all the money will be transferred into it. So if an auditor from the government shows up, what that tells the auditor is that maybe there was a time, there was an announcement, and church members donated money in their various capacities to that church account. So when a bank is looking at the statement, it says that Over a period of time, there were money coming in from a lot of accounts into a particular church account, because these churches operate multiple accounts. So that way, it makes it look very legitimate. So what they do is that they make the purchase of whatever it is they are buying. They place the order, the money leaves the account, leaves the shores of Nigeria, and gets credited in the US. And of course, that triggers the FBI, and the Federal Reserve Bank in America, that this kind of money came into the economy. We don't know. These are the details, so they attach it with all the relevant documents just to know that this was from a church and it is legitimate. So they allowed the money to settle down, then they paid the money to the company. But of course, the company, for example, may be dealing in musical equipment. The company may be into anything. So the next thing is to cancel the order with the company. But of course, the company has a foreknowledge that the order eventually is going to be cancelled, and therefore, as a way of compensating them, 10% is retained by the company. So you can imagine if a company has a profit margin of 4-5%, and a church in Nigeria is saying, look, there was a mix-up somewhere. We are not going to be needing the equipment at this point in time. We would like to cancel our order, which is allowed. And the next thing is, we would like the money to be refunded back into an account we are going to provide. For the stress and the whatever it is, we are retaining 10% for the stress. The company in the US, of course, they are human beings. Everybody is corrupt, like I mentioned to you before. Value system. Everybody is corrupt. Everybody wants to make some extra money. Everybody wants to sow where they didn't. Everybody wants to reap where they never sowed. This is how suffering has endured in Nigeria. This is how they are racketeering the profits of our children. This is how the government of the day and the government in the past and the government in the future in Nigeria would continue to get confused without knowing exactly what else to do. Any attempt by any government, any government to try and check these things, I can say to you, the governments are aware, but any attempt to make a move and clamp down this kind of activities, it means the government will be allowed to actually audit in detail the transaction of churches, and that will be considered as an act of antichrist. And they're going to go to the TV stations in Nigeria, they will go to radio stations, and before you know it, the so-called youth, the so-called unintelligent youth that do not understand that the suffering that is being inflicted on their lives while they are not making any impact in life is the collaboration between politicians, corrupt politicians, and some great men of God that is so much revered. They will begin to support them. They will begin to say this is an agenda to Islamize the country. And when the heat gets too much, the opposition party will jump into the wagon and begin to criticize. And all of these things have got political implication. So whosoever is the government, whichever party is in power, will tell the officers and the agency that is attempting such to step down. Recently was the case of Kama. There was a law in Nigeria which has always been there, and there was an attempt to kind of enforce the law. The whole country went on fire because this is the way they keep Nigeria bound. These are the cabals. When we talk about cabal in Nigeria, people always think we are referring to the politicians alone. No, it is so-called your great pastors and great GOs and great papas. They live behind the curtain to make sure they continue to finance their luxurious lifestyle. Like I said, that is the way the money will get transferred into the governor's account that has been opened already in Maryland. And that is how the money leaves Nigeria to an offshore account. And from there it disappears. From there, that you can calculate that was 5,000 job lost. You can calculate that was 2,000 job opportunity lost for that particular state. And that is how that racket. So there's a backlog. There's a backlog. Some churches are doing 15%. Some are doing 10%. Some are doing 25%. The bigger boys are doing 25%. And when it comes to that commission that they retain, if you can imagine laundering millions and millions and millions of dollars. You can imagine laundering millions and millions and billions of dollars. And that is why Naira doesn't stand a chance against the dollar. That is why Naira because anytime that kind of transaction occurs, there's no way CBN can survive it. It beats the Naira down, and dollar, it's a massive gain against the Naira. So that is, maybe this might be maybe some of my brothers in some African countries may relate to this, but I think it's about time people begin to ask the necessary question. The reason why I'm bringing this to light is, and I'm taking a great risk to share this, because a lot of people may be hearing this for the first time. And if you are out there and think maybe this guy is just saying what he doesn't know, it's okay. I don't want you to believe me. And if you are out there and begin to put 1 and 2 together, I would say congratulations to you. Then, because you need to begin to ask the right questions. If you have the right set of information, then if you are the type out there that believes that, no, maybe this guy doesn't know what he's saying, this message is not for you. But if you think, yes, this is making some sense, because the other group of people, even if Jesus himself should appear and explain things to them, they will still not believe Jesus. They are like Thomas. They will still not believe. So there's no need to waste energy, and this message is not for, it's just for these few selected people. They may just be 3% of the Nigerian youth that will begin to now question a lot of things, that will begin to put bills together for the Senate, for the Nigerian Senate to consider, because they will never have a future if this racket continues. It has been going on for a very long time. They used to use a very big, wealthy businessman in Nigeria with these politicians were using him for a long time. I don't want to mention his name. He's well known. In fact, people mention him a lot. They even envy him that he's a legitimate businessman. He started very small. Today he's a big man and blah, blah, blah. But because they are fools, most of these people are fools. They think that is how you think everybody just starts small like that, and all of a sudden, boom. I'm not saying there are no people but this guy, that was not it at all. He was laundering money and was taking a percentage. But at some point, he was able to, over a period of time, able to get some legitimate credibility, and he started getting investors from Western countries, and he felt he can't take the risk anymore. So that's why a lot of these civil servants, and it's not just politicians that are doing this with, by the way, it's not just politicians that are doing this with churches. The civil servants, senior federal civil servants are doing this. They are doing this. They go to churches to launder money for them. Some of these GO, they launder money for them. So, and about private jets, let me attend to people that think that why does a man of God need more than one private jet? The reason is very simple. The reason is because the 3 private jet doesn't belong to him. That's just the reason. He only needs 1, so you are correct in your assessment. But the reason is because the other 2 that he has, or maybe the entire 3, doesn't even belong to him in the first place. So what they do is this, prophets. This is what they do. Let me explain that part.
Okay, Let's pause it right here. In the next episode, I'm going to bring you the part that he was about to talk about how they buy private jets. And are those jets really theirs? Or they're just playing the gunman? You know, when you say you're the gunman, you're just the striker. You're just being used as a decoy so that the actual person, the principal, can remain hidden. These are things I think you should know. And I know some of you are already curious right now. You want to know everything. No, take it slow. Put your right foot on the brake pedal. Let's take this one step at a time so that you can be able to know it in detail. Wake up, Africa. Wake up, church. Wake up. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Start thinking on your own. I want you to process this information. I know this is just the surface. We've not gone into detail. When I say into detail, when I'll start bringing out the files and start explaining everything that is spoke about, some of the information that he sent me, the documents and the proofs, they need to be decrypted by someone that has financial intelligence that can really explain the numbers in detail, the income and the outflow, the expenditures and all those other things. He spoke about many things here. He spoke about microfinance banks. He did not go deeper into the microfinance banks because we have another conversation where he categorically outlined everything in detail, to the lowest detail, to the last detail. How you in these big churches, how you are being used, to to assist these activities. Your details and everything without you knowing about it. This is crime. And my appeal also to international crowd investigation agencies. I think if we can have someone that can connect us to them, we can write a petition to them. We can just call them and write them a letter to ask them to investigate some of the transactions that are coming through into their nations through these proxies of their denominations. Most of you wonder, why do they have branches in America? Why do they have branches in Britain, in Canada, in Germany? And the funny part is those branches are not even big. Small branches. And the people that attend those small branches are still Nigerians, are still Zimbabweans, are still South Africans, are still Africans. They're just using those branches as a proxy for them to be able to loan the money. Because for you to be able to loan the money, there must be a channel through which you clean the cash. And as he explained that these branches are used so that they can send money to those smaller branches, and those smaller branches will make a big order. It's not only church instruments. They can order anything of that subsequent amount. And after 2 days, 3 days, they'll complain. So you know what? Can we get a refund? So not to avoid the company that they're asking for a refund from lashing out and from saying a lot of things, they will say, okay, you know what? Take 5% of that amount and give us the balance. Do you think that company in the overseas will say no to 5% for not giving any service? But that company was used to clean the cash. And when they say refund us, they're not going to give the church account. They are going to give the account of the big boss. That's where those funds will be diverted to. So you wonder why your politicians have offshore accounts in different countries. That's the main reason why they have those offshore accounts. So that when those funds that are supposed to be refunded to the church, they'll be diverted. They'll be sent back to the governor's account. Who's going to monitor governor's account in Mauritius, in Singapore? No one. There's a lot that is going to... if you have never seen them shaking, this is going to shake them. Because this is the truth that no one has ever spoken about. This is the truth that nobody knows. And this is the truth that the African child should know. About how we are being taken for granted, how they are stepping on our toes. And we're just watching and clapping for them, celebrating them at the expense of your children. So on the next episode, we'll explain about the jets. After we finish the explanations, now we'll come back and get into detail of how this really goes. Because some of you have been left confused right now. You might not have understood everything that was explained. But don't worry. will explain everything in detail. In detail. So till I meet you again on the next episode of the Enlightenment series, it's Mr. Pull the Trigger. I'm out.